Good afternoon, everyone. Buon pomeriggio, kalispera, if I'm right in Greek. But fundamentally, I think it's important we also say good morning because I see there are people from other parts of the world and good afternoon or maybe good evening for the others or the other end. Hi, Paolo. Hi, hi. Please do put in where you are from. We like this geographical, all-inclusive approach. And also, if you're teaching in a higher education, a university, a high school, private language school, just give us an idea where you're from and what you do. Thank you, Carla. And that's good. High school, Italy. That's good. Slowly, we'll welcome everyone in. I can see people, more and more teachers are coming in. Macedonia, yes, I saw. We actually quite interesting. There's a nice mix. Italy is obviously because this is an initiative that actually Sylvia and Erica will back me up on this. It's something that started years ago in Italy. This is our seventh year, or we started in 2019, just before COVID. It was actually a webinar when everything was not supposed to be booming in webinars, and then everything. So welcome to you all, Macedonia, Basilicata. There you go. So I see there's a good mix. I said there's Italy, fundamentally Greece, India, and loads of other countries from Croatia, Morocco, Peru, Brazil. I mean, are just fascinating. I feel like I'm traveling around the world in less than 2 minutes now, Erica and Sylvia. You have that same feeling?
Yes,
There you
Giuseppe. Hello
go,
to everyone.
Bologna.
Hello,
There
everyone.
you
Yes,
go.
of course.
That's good. Erica and Sylvia are going to be our speakers today, and I will be introducing them in a moment. So just going to allow people to get in. What's the weather like? Come on, let's just share some nice, interesting insights over the weather also. If you feel like texting Ukraine. Oh, hi, Natalia. Obviously, I've met you. I've been there, visited your school. Hi, that's really nice, really nice. We'll just allow a couple of minutes for you to get in, and I will start by simply introducing myself. I think it's just fair because some people obviously know me. Torino, Mariana, hi. Indonesia, well, I'm Giuseppe, as I was saying, Italian Romagnoli. I'm the country manager of LanguageCert here in Italy. I am based in Ancona, and I've been involved in this organization since basically from the very beginning here in Italy, not from the very beginning when it started. I'm very proud to say and share that this idea of sharing with Macmillan is something that we wanted, we really believed in, and we've, the fact that this is the seventh year, I think Eric has proven that we have consolidated this relationship. No need to say that the books of Macmillan are excellent. I've just talked to one of our test centers this morning and they said, I'm a Mac guy, he said to me. I said, oh, that's really cool. And I remember using Macmillan Compass myself in the past. So, Eric, I'm sure you'll be sharing some information there. Okay, I can see a lot more people come in. That's good. So, having said that, I'll basically the title of this webinar is Empower Your Students for Success, but it's also the title of the next one, which will be the 5th of March with another speaker, two different speakers, Nancy and Romina from Macmillan and Nancy from LanguageCert. But today we're going to be focused on mapping LanguageCert Academic to Macmillan Education's book, Skillful. Just to make it clear, we tend to do every year separate kind of webinar, but this year is following what we did last year. So we're going to go into different aspects. Sylvia will be giving an insight on that. And I would say that we should start because we have 1 hour. We've just got 1 hour. What we'll do is we'll start with Erica in a moment, and then Sylvia, and then we have a question and answer. So do feel free to use the chat. The chat is open, so you can share your reflections. You can share what you think, as we're doing now. But please do put your specific questions, which you wish to address to Sylvia and Erica in the Q&A box because it does help us manage it better. Just a little bit of housekeeping very quickly. One of the questions people ask me, will there be a certificate? Yes, there will be a certificate, and I get that out of the way. We are recording this session, so if for those who somehow can't manage to finish the hour, we'll be able to get that too. And at the end of the session, when you close, there'll be a very short survey, and we all know how important they are, so that we can improve our next future webinars, etc., etc. So, having said that, let me now introduce you to friend Erica, colleague Erica, sales representative Italy, Macmillan Education. Erica Favaro has worked with private language schools, companies, and universities, assisting them in their English language teaching journeys. Now, as a university representative for Macmillan Education in Italy, Erica loves connecting with educators, sharing tools to make ELT even better, and is always up for a good chat about teaching tips. And I think that is quite inspiring, actually. So, Erica, over to you, and we can start this lovely 1 hour together. Thank you to all of you for putting your welcoming and countries in the chat. I'll leave it over to you, Erica. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Giuseppe. I'll take over from here. I love connecting and giving tips and helping educators. So this is what I'm going to do today. Let me share my screen so that we can look at my presentation together. Okay. You should be able to see it. Okay. Just give me 1 second here.
I can see it. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Giuseppe, for double checking for me. As Giuseppe was saying, today I'm going to talk about Skillful. I'm going to give you a general overview of the series of the books that have been mapped so that you can have, of course, a general idea, but then I'd also like to focus a bit more on specific key points of this third edition. The third edition has been out for the last academic year and is going great. So I hope you'll find all my tips helpful today. So first of all, what's Skillful? Skillful is our academic English textbook. It focuses on language proficiency and academic skills. And the key points I'm going to focus a bit more on during this webinar are the critical thinking approach, its academic skills sections, these long sections we have in the third edition, and integrated skills micro units, also new sections that we have in the third edition. Each level of Skillful has 2 independent but combinable books. Again, independent but combinable. So one is listening and speaking, and one is reading and writing. Of course, listening and speaking and reading and writing are the main focus of each book, but it doesn't mean that you cannot find all 4 skills in each book. And I'm going to do it first, and then Silvia will show you how you can do it and how you can find it, how you can use all 4 skills in all books. First of all, I'd like to give you a general overview of the series. Skillful is a 5-level series starting from A1, Foundation, which is A1, to level 4, which is C1. We have different versions. So we have the blended edition, which is paper copies with the digital code inside, or the digital only. So you only get the digital code. If you're interested in the digital only edition, then I'll have all my details at the end of the presentation. Please get in touch so I can give you, there are different discount codes that we can give. When you activate the digital codes, both that you can find inside the paper copy or that you get while buying the digital only, there will be a student's book, a digital student's book or teacher's book that will be activated on your platform. Together with the book that you can use on different devices, so you can use it on your computer, on your mobile phone, or on your tablet. You'll also have the on-the-go practice. The on-the-go practice is a kind of digital-only further exercises. Imagine it as a digital-only workbook where students can, and you yourself, of course, can find more activities, further exercises, and review what has been done in the student's book. The levels that have been mapped for LanguageCert Academic are level B2 and level C1, so the highest level of the series. I said before that you can find all 4 units in each book, and you can see it while looking at the unit structure just at the beginning, because each unit starts with an opening video, with opening activities with a video. So if you're using listening and speaking, if you're using reading and writing, all units start with videos. So we have audiovisual support at the beginning of our journey in the unit, and then we go on with vocabulary preview and input skill activities. Then we have the academic skills section, which is one of the key points that I'm going to talk about in a minute. We'll proceed with academic vocabulary in context and critical thinking activities. Also about critical thinking approach, I'm going to talk about more in depth in a minute. After this big first part, we proceed with the output skill model. Here, students can analyze a model and then support themselves with the grammar part. We're going to need the grammar because after this section, we'll find the output skill task. And so students will be asked to produce. The same structure then can be found in the next unit. Okay, so this structure is always the same. Now, this is the structure of the big units, but inside each book, we can also find 5 integrated skills micro units. These are specific sections where we can use integrated skills, and we have Scientific American material, so authentic material. Let's now dig a bit in depth in the different key points I talked about, because we have specific sections that are very important in this new edition, and I think can be very useful and very interesting to use in the classroom. I'd also like to give you tips on how to use them, give you suggestions of activities that can be done to support these sections of the book. So the first point is the critical thinking approach. So the critical thinking approach teaches students how they can think beyond the activities. So not just focusing on the activities, and how they can apply all the skills that they are learning throughout the units in the real world. Here, students can question and critically evaluate sources. Here, for example, I have a couple examples. These are longer critical thinking sections where students and teachers can cover key aspects of academic communication. But at the same time, with the critical thinking approach, students can also present their stance on a topic in a clear and effective way. So the first 2 examples are taken from the longer critical thinking sections that we have, but throughout the units, we also have these shorter activities. So the third example at the bottom is one of these shorter units, shorter activities that can be found throughout the units. And here students can analyze what they have just completed, for example, during the input skill activities, with a critical point of view. And then they are asked to present their own point of view, supported by learned information. So they can use all the information they learned in the input activities and reuse it to support their point of view. These activities are very, very important because it's key to show students how everything they are doing, all the skills that they are learning, can be reused in their everyday life, and most importantly, can be a great support during their academic life. Let's now go on with the second key point I'd like to review with you, which is very specific of this new edition, which is the academic skills section. These sections help students develop abilities and techniques to become autonomous learners, which is also a key point of the book, okay, being autonomous learners. The one I put here on the right is just an example, but I also brought more examples just to show you what type of skills are covered in these sections. The section always starts with an explanation. So we have a general overview and explanation of what the skill is about. And then we have an application on known material. What does it mean? That everything that has been explained at the beginning is then applied to a text or an audio file, something that they have already worked on. So for example, this section is usually put after the input skills section. So we may find a text or an audio file, something that students have already worked on, but now we use this material to apply the academic skill. So we have practical use. And to learn how to manage the academic skills section, I have a suggestion for you. So I can suggest an activity that can be done in the classroom, which is the teaching circle. I'll show you very quickly how it works. So students in this case should work in groups of 3. So we have students A, B, and C. Student A should read the academic skills explanation. I have an example here, okay? So student A reads the academic skills explanation and write it down in bullet points. Then we have student B that reads the bullet points and explains them to student C. So we have A reading, B reading the bullet points and explaining them to C. At this point, student C takes notes and explains the instructions back to student A. Okay, so we have this circle, this teaching circle, and only at this point, the 3 students work together to discuss the original instructions and the final result of their activity. So this is the first way to double check the understanding and focus on what's more important about the explanation. And then the class can proceed with the activities, like the actual activities that you can find in the academic skills section. This way, students can analyze and discuss in group to better understand, as I said before, to better understand what are the main points and the very important part of these explanations before proceeding and double checking it again together with the class. So I hope this is useful. I can share my presentation. There will be my details at the end of the slides, so you can get in touch for this. One last key point of the new edition is the integrated skills micro units. I'm going to talk about it now. The integrated skills micro units have authentic content from Scientific American because they want students to get used to English for education and academic communication. In this case, we have infographic, we have a text, and we approach this part first with a close reading and then with a close listening. So we use integrated skills, and with these activities, students can reuse specific skills that they learned throughout the unit. In this case, we have close reading and close listening. But they learn how to analyze a topic from multiple inputs. So they use these multiple inputs to analyze the same topic very quickly in the same 2 pages. As you see, these integrated skills micro units are just a couple pages where students are bombarded with information about one topic. I have suggestions of activities that can be done also for this part. In this case, I suggest using this kind of activity. Maybe you have already used it in the classroom, but it's nice to keep the classroom a bit active. It can be organized in different ways. So in the running dictation, you should keep copies of the text on one side of the classroom. If not on one side of the classroom, at least only a part of the student should be available, should have the text available. Because here, I have the example that we were looking at just before. So we have the text of the integrated skills unit. And we'll put the students into pairs. Student one should read the text, then return to their partner and quietly dictate or explain what they remember. If the text is too long, we can also divide it into paragraphs. So we can also have student one read the first paragraph, return to the partner, then go back, read the second paragraph. So it depends on the text we are using. So in the meantime, student 2 should listen and write down what student 1 tells them. They can ask questions for clarification if needed, but they mustn't show student 1 what they are writing down. This is key. Why? Because then when they finish, They can sit together and compare their text and correct any mistakes. They can understand if they had the general overview was the same, if the key points were the same, were understood, if there is something that I need to explain better or communicate in a different way to make the other person understand, or maybe write down better to remember. This activity can also be done with the podcast. As I said, there was a close reading and then a close listening. The close listening has a podcast. This can be done also with the listening part. So the podcast, student one can listen instead of reading. I wanted to give you practical ways today to cover these specific key points of the book so that you can make the most out of it. And before I handed it over to Sylvia, and that will give you more insight on the different skills, I'd like to also give you a general overview of what is available for students and teacher for Skillful. You will see that for the digital book, the key for students are on request. It is just something that needs to be enabled on the platform. So just get in touch. I can show you how to do it. And again, this is my email address. This is a QR code you can use to connect with me on WhatsApp. This is the WhatsApp icon. So you can use the QR code to have my contact on WhatsApp. And should you have questions about it, requests, should you need specific training on the book or on the platform, please get in touch with me. We can organize it. I can give you more details about specific activities that can be done. And I hope you found all my tips useful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Erica. And I love that image of that frog staring at me. Beautiful,
Like this.
beautiful, beautiful. I bet it's very skillful, that one. Uh,
Very skilled.
thank you, thank you. We need to move on. Sylvia's ready. Thank you so much, Erica. Q&A, obviously, put in your questions. I haven't seen any for the moment, but as things are, we're all warmed up. Let's get into the live part of LanguageCert Academic. The big word here is academic preparation and also skillful. So I'm going to hand over a second to Sylvia, but allow me to introduce her. First of all, is my colleague. We've been working together for quite a few years now. Sylvia, Dr. Sylvia Caristati, head of our teacher support of LanguageCert department. Sylvia is an accomplished educator and lecturer with over 15 years experience in higher education. As head of the teacher support at LanguageCert, she leads the development of resources and events that empower teaching communities engaged with LanguageCert certifications. So Sylvia, you've got your part now, so over to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Giuseppe. It's great to be here, and also it's great to be coming back to talk about Macmillan Skillful. This is the second webinar on the topic, and we have done the mapping with the team here at LanguageCert last year because we're always interested in suitable materials that one can use for preparation. And last year I talked about level 4. This year I'm going to talk about level 3. And I will take you through the exam, and I will also take you into the book and show you different kinds of activities that can help you while you're using this for preparation for LanguageCert Academic. But first of all, why choose LanguageCert Academic? We'll start with the test. And those of you who are preparing students for academic study, who are preparing students for university life, this is a test that focuses on real world skills. And through the preparation and through the testing journey, they will understand how meaning is built up in academic texts, how they can work with different types of texts. And also, it's very important to note here that for all the skills, LanguageCert Academic has an academic focus for all tasks and all skills, speaking and listening included. And there is an emphasis on oracy. There is also an emphasis on live interlocution. Speaking in the speaking exam, there is a live interview one-to-one with an examiner. And also, there is the accessibility issue is very important. It's widely available. Depending on the type of test you want, you can choose a secure test center, or you can take the test online. The format of the test, I'm just going through this a little bit quickly because I'm sure that a lot of you have been here with us before and you know the test, but this is the overall format. The written exam, listening, reading, and writing. I'm going to go through the tasks and the speaking exam with the 4 parts around 14 minutes. We've got different task types that cater to developing different skills. And you will remember that it's a multi-level test. And that means that it's not an adaptive test. It is a test that has items from different levels. And we want to, students should be aiming for levels from B1 to C2. These are the levels that will be meaningful for higher education admissions. And the results reporting is also very meaningful and user-friendly. So apart from your score, you get a description also on your performance. We have a research team that has worked a lot on developing the test, but also validating the test. And the systems are known for security and reliability and also accessibility. So these are just some introductory parts for LanguageCERT Academic. The next thing that I will focus on now is the mapping that we've done. So we've mapped both books, listening and speaking, and the reading and writing book. We've mapped it to the test. And as Erica mentioned earlier, if you're using, for example, the listening and reading book or the listening and speaking book, it doesn't mean that there aren't things that can help you with reading and writing. So we've mapped both books for all 4 skills. And you will be able to receive these mappings, these documents, as a takeaway. The team will send it to you later after the webinars. So level 3 for this webinar. Level 4 is already on YouTube for those of you who were with us last year. And what I want, this was the last year's sessions on level 4. So I'm going to start with taking each skill now, and I'm going to start with listening. If you have any questions or any comments on the activities, do write them on the chat. And we'll start first of all with the overview. This is the overview of the listening test. I'm using here samples from the paper, practice papers. This is just so that we can see them better. The test is a digital test, and you'll be able to see each item one by one. The listening in LanguageCERT Academic is a test that takes you from shorter conversations within an academic context to longer monologues and dialogues that require a lot more in-depth listening. Let's go and look at each task one by one, and let's then look at what Skillful has to offer. In part 1, these are the 7 conversations, and this is important to understand that the interlocutors will be in an everyday academic context, and they will need to choose the right answer to complete the conversation. So here we have exchanges between 2 speakers, and they are in a higher education context. So what are we looking for here? We're looking for function, we're looking for awareness around meaning or register, speaker relationships as well. What is important is that within a book, we're looking for how we can respond, for example, to listening to everyday language in an academic context. Skillful has these kind of short dialogues and these completion tasks. So these are task types that will help you with the preparation. It's also very important to think about that we move from a shorter conversation to a longer conversation. So in part 2, here we've got longer conversations. These are 5 conversations between 2 speakers. And again, we've got typical contexts for our speakers, and they have distinct roles. A context setting sentence allows you to see who is speaking and what the context is. Again, we're looking for preparation materials that prepares test takers to understand meaning, viewpoint, speaker relationship, etc. In Skillful, we'll be able to find these conversations again, short conversations, and we have an example here from Unit 2 that focuses on global listening and global meaning, and what each speaker believes. But also, what I found very interesting as I was looking at the book is the speaking models. So they have these conversations between speakers, are they analyzing the speaking? And this is a very, very helpful moment also for people to think about how conversations work, turn taking, and a number of functions. As we move to part 3, we're moving to a longer piece of discourse. This is an extended monologue. We expect this type of listening in an academic context. We expect lectures, podcasts, longer presentations perhaps, and the topic will be related to an academic setting. There's always a context setting rubric that tells you what the topic is about. It tells you the title also. There are some, and you have this notepad. So you listen and complete a set of notes on the notepad. There are 7 gaps, and you are listening to all parts twice. I haven't mentioned that, but it's important that in the test you listen to everything twice. So what we're looking for is what is a key academic skill, the ability to listen to a lecture, to a monologue, and take notes, realize what are the important parts, be able to hear and take notes. So the ability to summarize and synthesize information. There is a lot of practice here that the book offers. So listening to lectures and taking notes with tasks that are similar to the one that you just saw in the exam. This is just a note-taking task, listening for key terms and definitions here. But there's also listening and note-taking in a number of moments where you're just filling in gaps, as is the example here from Unit 7. What you also have is, as Erica mentioned, this part from the Scientific American with the integrated skills. Usually, after the reading part, there is a podcast, and that podcast includes a gapped listening. You can see it here in the closed listening in Activity 1. This is a gapped listening, very similar to the kind of task that we have in Part 3. In listening Part 4, we go now to a discussion. This is a longer discussion. It's between 3 people. The one person is the moderator, and then you have 2 voices. It's on an academic topic. For example, as you see here, climate change, the natural world, and here on the sample on the page, this is the archaeology of space exploration. So these are topics that can be accessible to, let's say, an incoming student. You don't have to be a specialist, but they're not everyday topics. And these are also the topics that you find in the book. You look at the tasks here. This is multiple choice. You've got 6 questions and you've got 3 options. So this is detailed listening. We want our candidates to understand the academic discussion, listening for specific information, understanding whether speakers agree or disagree and to what extent, their opinions, their attitudes, and how they differ. This idea of listening to discussions and listening for main ideas or listening to categorize information features in the book as well. There are a number of moments where they've got discussions, and these types of tasks, similar multiple choice tasks, accompany the listening texts. So here you can see different kinds of things that are being assessed or being taught here. The ability, for example, to understand main ideas, the ability to categorize information. So what we've done in the mapping is that we've identified the types of activities that can be helpful when preparing for the different task types. Now for reading, I'm going to take you through some of the parts, just being mindful of the time. And I'm not going to mention reading 1B and reading part 3, but these also are all included in the mapping. So here in the sentences, we've got a great selection for reading part 1 of academic vocabulary. This is a part of the test that that shows 6 short sentences taken from an academic context. The test taker has to choose the correct word to replace the gap. The ability to understand vocabulary used in academic texts is the focus here. And you can see the different examples that are featured in the test. And when we go to the book, there is so much practice on upgrading your academic vocabulary skills. I've just taken some examples here. There's always a vocabulary preview, academic words and idioms. There are multiple choice with synonyms. For example, in Unit 3, this is very much close to the exam activity, replacing that word with a synonym. And this idea of refining your meaning, understanding meaning variation, and understanding also how a word can be used differently with different collocations depending on the context. This is the kind of skill that we're looking for here. And I'm going to now go to reading part 2, where in the exam, this is a task that focuses on text organization, how meaning is developed in discourse. So here they will read a longer academic text. This is, it could be a narrative, it could be biographical, it could be an instruction. And you have 6 sentences, 6 gaps in the text. In the options, you're given 8 sentences. So 2 will not be needed. Text organization is important here. And we've got a number of moments in the book where they're asking you to identify and understand text organization. So which is a paragraph, for example, that gives you a definition? Which one gives you an explanation? Which one gives you, how does it move from problems to solutions? This is a very important sub-skill for this, because a lot of when you want to identify the right sentence, understanding its function within the paragraph and its function within the whole text is very important. But not just that, there are a number of moments where you are looking at the paragraph structure, you're looking at how you're looking at the text in this macro view, where you're looking at paragraph function as well. Of course, in many webinars, I talk about the fact that when you teach for this part, teaching referencing, teaching pronoun, anaphora, anaphoric referencing is also very important. In part 4, this is a longer text, and you've got 6 questions about the text in a multiple choice. There are a lot of readings in Skillful that can be used to test this ability to understand an academic text that includes kind of complex debate or argumentation, that includes implicit opinion perhaps. And one such example that I have here, it's not the text, but it's these tasks that ask you to look at the point of view of the author. And so they have a large text in Unit 3 on the climate. Is the climate changing our view of fire? This is the context of the text. And then they need to match the point of view to the sentences in the text. It's not quite a multiple choice, but this is one of the sub-skills that is tested here. The writer's point of view and how we can identify the point of view based on what is implicitly stated. So what we're looking here is these sub-skills that a test will target, and a course book, will explicitly teach and develop. As we're moving on to writing, we've got 2 tasks. For writing, the duration is 50 minutes, and both tasks are formal and neutral pieces of writing. The first one is a report based on an infographic, and the second one is an academic essay based on a prompt. For the first part, this one will require you to write a short report. You're given an infographic, and you're given the context when you're writing and for whom, and you need to cover all the points that are given. So here in the report, it says on the sample, you should describe the trends, give reasons, and predict. So 3 different functions. The ability to describe, summarize, synthesize information in a brief report is what is assessed here. In a lot of books, we've got examples that focus on candidates preparing with writing with data. So this is an example from Unit 6, and this is a similar type of data, and it's practicing on how do we interpret data, how do we look at the different kinds of materials. But not only that, there are writing models in the book that one can use. So you've got the task, and then you've got a model that you can read and analyze, and you can look at the language for identifying trends, identifying changes. And at the end of the book, there's also a writing bank. So this phrase bank here, academic writing phrase bank, will be a useful resource for students drawing on language and looking at different kinds of functional language for causes, for example, for predictions, for reasons, for examples, all these useful functions gathered in a bank. For writing part 2, this is the classic essay. It's a discursive piece of writing. You're on an academic subject. It's not about a personal response or it's not about a personal experience narrative. You need to write in response to a statement. The statement is expressing a strong view on a topic, or it's outlining 2 opposing views. Here we have these 2 opposing views on the internet, on the sample. So the ability to formulate and develop an argument, to present using the language of argument, to compare and contrast 2 opinions, and to express your own opinion is what is needed here. The essay as a genre is taught in many academic writing contexts. In Macmillan Skillful, you've got a number of moments where they're targeting the argument essay in a number of ways. So first of all, there are models in the book on writing, and there are also a lot of pre-writing moments where they are training students, for example, in Unit 2 on working with sample outlines. So a number of writing skills and sub-skills are targeted. But not only that, they are also looking at writing theory a little bit, thinking about mind mapping, and looking at the writing skill more in depth. And always there are models of writing that students can work with. And there is a little bit of theory as well. So this is it's a wonderful example for tutors to share. This is an argumentative essay, and it's been annotated with whatever the different functions of each sentence are. So this ability to rhetorically analyze the essay is important, to be able to then produce relevant and comparable types of essays. Okay, I've got a little bit of time to talk about speaking, and the speaking part is, as I said, live, one-to-one, one candidate, one interlocutor, for approximately 14 minutes, 4 parts for speaking. And we go from a more informal to a more, let's say, formal presentation mode. Let's look at the different tasks. In part 1, this is a kind of question type mini interview. Here, the test taker will share personal information. They will be asked questions. but it will be about themselves, and they will be about topics that are around contemporary issues. You see here some of the samples, their study skills, their habits, the daily routines, certain advantages or disadvantages. We have the news, daily life, etc. And the interlocutor will be asking them questions on these topics. So when we prepare for students to talk about this variety of topics, these materials that are found in Skillful, these videos that are included, the opening video of the unit, which engages with a topical issue, is always followed by questions, post-viewing questions. And although these questions are a little bit more, I would say, involved because they follow input, they develop this ability to talk and express opinions about key contemporary topics, whether that is crafts or museums. And these critical thinking questions as well that are included are very, very helpful to develop these kinds of skills. As I said, these are a little bit more involved, but they do work very well. And also in the bank that we have at the end of the book, there is a bank of questions on topics of contemporary interest, such as health, here, building. You see that this is in the appendix of the book, and it gives you ways of how you can get started, and how you could be developing your answers in relation to these kinds of topics. A very helpful resource for preparing. In speaking part 2, this is a role play. And this is a wonderful task that prepares students for the real world of speaking to within academic contexts. And we don't not just have the classic, tutor student scenario, but we've got a number of scenarios where, you're talking to other students. You might be talking to an accommodation officer or a sports center looking for services. So this is also preparing for the world that is going to be part of your academic experience, replicating real life situations within higher education settings. You can see some of the scenarios here on the sample paper. And there's a lot of functional language here. For example, you may be asked to give advice, to suggest something, to request for permission, to offer, apologize, or explain. So this ability to work with functional language, understand what is the key function, and respond appropriately based on the role relationship is very important for this part, and it's very important for real life communication as well. And what I would like to focus on here with Macmillan Skillful is moments in the book where interactive competence is the key focus on speaking skills. First of all, the phrase bank at the end of the book, this very useful language for functional language that we see here. Again, a wonderful resource to prepare for these different kinds of functions. But also the different moments in the speaking book, they break up the speaking skill and they prepare students for different kinds of these more informal interactions. So here, for example, we have an example on talking about problems and talking about solutions. It's almost as if they are working with a scenario similar to the task type of the exam. So you go to bed late and you have trouble waking up in the morning. So how do you start that interaction, and then what do you do? Talking about problems and suggestions. I'm coming towards the end, 2 more parts to go. There is part 3, which is the read aloud part. There will be a very short preparation time, and the candidate will need to read aloud a short text, and they will be able to then they will answer short questions about it. So here, the ability to read the text well and fluently in terms of pronunciation, in terms of intonation, in terms of stress, and also adding meaning and emphasis and showcasing comprehension is key. And also the ability to answer comprehension and extension questions that ask the candidate to summarize the information and synthesize. What we're looking for here there are a number of moments that in the book, in the speaking book, they are practicing on these sub-skills that focus on pronunciation. Intonation is one moment here, chunking, or what they call thought groups, this ability that you're breaking up a little bit the timing based on the syntax and understanding the syntax of the sentence is a very, very important sub-skills that one can practice on in the book. And also, as I was doing the mapping, I thought, oh, look at all these little nice texts that they could be using to practice reading aloud. So using these short texts from the reading and writing book to practice the reading aloud, even a gap fill, usually they have this size. And also the read aloud sections will include numbers, they will include acronyms, percentages, for example. So this is important. And finally, we go to a task that is wonderfully mapped and evident here in the book. This is the presentation. Delivering small presentations is a big part of academic life, the ability to talk on a topic and present data. So here they will be looking at an infographic and they will need to deliver a 2-minute mini presentation on the infographic, and then they will be asked follow-up questions related to the topic. The ability to deliver a presentation in an organizational skills, their discourse management, the ability to interact also in response to a visual is very, very important here. As we are going into the book, there is a number of moments where in Unit 7, for example, they're practicing exactly this, speaking with data. And there are a number of models here in the book as well. But what is wonderfully, I think, it speaks to them is that in each book there is an infographic that starts the book. And I think this also speaks to how both the test and the book, they target the kinds of information that you need to communicate within academic text settings today. So this there is an infographic, and then there is questions around the infographic. And all of these can be used as very solid practice for reading part, for speaking part 4. So before I leave you, I would like to just remind you that we've got the website where you'll be able to find all the information, the free practice, the preparation materials, practice papers, and also there are a number of QR codes here for a number of actions that we do with our partners and with the teachers. For example, our webinars, our YouTube channel, teaching resources, newsletter, a number of actions where you can, I don't know what's your QR of choice. The newsletter is always a good point to be because it's going to give you all the information. And for those of you who want to go and revisit, the YouTube channel has the previous webinar on Macmillan Skillful as well. And what's coming up? This is next week. Sorry, not next week, sorry. This is in March, beginning of March. The next webinar with Nancy and Romina, that's coming up. Okay, that's it from
Sylvia. Me. Thank you so much. It's just not just, no, there's a lot of information there. So have a glass of water, Sylvia. Have a glass of water. Thank you so much. Well, this is the moment where you can, add your questions in. I've actually saw one or two. I just wanted to just close a second here with all the information that's come in, some keywords that I heard from you, Erica, that impressed me. Skillful, 3rd edition, the word skill, sub-skills that Sylvia mentioned, the function, the functional language, academic, and as Sylvia mentioned, the 4 skills of language academic they are all 4 targeted for academic purposes. So I see the 2 parts, the Macmillan Skillful book and the LANGUAGECERT Academic book, matching very well. And Sylvia, allow me to thank you because you've done the job. You've done the job of mapping it. You did the job also last year of mapping the other one. So thank you. And by just listening to you, I could see the amount of work you put into it. So I hope this is going to help a lot of teachers making their life, as we said, practical and useful to prepare their students for their dreams and their academic pathways. Questions. Let's go into the questions and then we can wrap up and close. Let me see. Well, there was a question there before, but I did answer it. It was also answered about, it's just a technical thing. It's about the attendance certificate. Obviously, teachers are careful to ask that question. Yes, you will be getting, after a few days, your attendance certificate, along with what Sylvia also mentioned, the mapping. Sylvia, if I remember, it's going to be in a PDF, if I get.
Yes, it's a PDF. It's a single PDF that includes both books. So if they scroll down around page 22, then they will see the next book as well.
Yeah. And just following that, if you don't have any questions, please do. This is the moment. We are in time. And this will be just simply some tips. Sylvia and Erica are here for that. In the meantime, while I wait, if you do have any questions, just to add, they will also be in the emails that following this webinar. You'll be getting the recording, because I see that everybody's actually attended the whole webinar. The people that registered attended, but there are a couple of people that had to leave before, which they have the opportunity to listen to the recording. Sylvia, thank you so much. And Erica, I don't see any questions this time. That means it was very, very, very clear. I'd just like to add, obviously, LanguageCERT Academic we go very proud of this qualification. As I said, 4 skills, completely academic and a task academic. Accessible, Siva mentioned that. I think this is one of the strengths of LanguageCERT. We thrive trying to find ways to give the candidate the best journey. It's the way it should be. And secure, obviously, talk about exams when it comes to qualification like sections board, very important, security, and being reliable also. The multi-level test from B1 to C2. What can I say? There's no questions. There's a lot of thank yous. I've given you the information. There will be a survey when you close. Just a couple of minutes, please do fill that in. And as Sylvia mentioned, the next webinar, the 5th of March, you have Macmillan with LanguageCERT ESOL for Schools. And the book is, if I remember well, Get Involved. Erica reminded me that one earlier.
Correct. Yes.
Thank you so much. Same time, 1 hour, very practical, very, very, very clear, different speakers. We're going to have Rimini, and we're going to have Romina, not Rimini, and Nancy. What else is there to say? I think I've mentioned everything. One thing I'd like to mention for the Italian teachers based in this beautiful country, we will be in Didacta just a few weeks now, the 11th to the 13th. Sylvia will be coming, and also Erica will be coming. We have 11 sessions. 11 sessions with our speakers, Sylvia, Nancy, Chantel. I'll be there with Adrian. So do please come to our booth, W59. We end the day with a little chin-chin, as we say, a little drink where we talk about, this is the topic, education, assessment, helping students to succeed and empower your students for success. I guess Sylvia, Erica, they don't have questions, so I'm not going to ask you any questions.
Okay.
So
Thank you, Giuseppe.
They can always get in touch.
Of course, get in touch. And if you want to get in touch with me too, as country manager Italy, please do. My name, Giuseppe Romagnoli, at giuseppe.romagnoli@peoplecert.org. Happy to help the schools, higher educations. I'm here to support you. And if it's not from Italy, get in touch and I'll put you in contact with my colleague who's somewhere around the world, because you are all over the world. Erica, thank you so much. Sylvia, and thank you to all of you that have dedicated an hour, and hope to see you soon. Have a lovely evening. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you.